It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. Happy New Year, everyone. 2025 is finally in the books, and it was a lot. A year into Trump's first term, we've seen a dramatic expansion of executive powers, attacks on the media and political opponents, the gutting of basic government functions, the abandonment of science, and a retreat from global leadership. There are a million other things to lament. I could not possibly cover them all, but we have also seen pushback, a resistance that is finding its voice, judges that are holding the line, and what appears to be a building blue tsunami leading into the 2026 elections. There are signs that Trumpism is cracking. Chief among them is the growing paranoia of Trump and those around him. That itself presents a huge danger to the country as Trump lashes out at his political foes. But those attacks are a sign of weakness, not strength. Today, as we embark on a new year full of both danger and hope, I want to share with you one example of the absurd paranoia driving Trumpism. On Christmas Day, I got a text from Kris Goldsmith, the founder of Vets Fighting Fascism, a regular guest on this show and one of my closest friends. That morning, Christmas morning, Mike Flynn had put out to his 2 million followers on Twitter that he had just asked Kash Patel, head of the FBI, to investigate Kris, quote, without mercy. That provoked exactly the kind of response from Flynn's followers that you would expect. I'll let Kris tell the story, but I want to go into it bearing this in mind. When people like Mike Flynn and Donald Trump make these kinds of threats, it's a sign of weakness. It's what bullies do. We've talked to those on the receiving end. Mark Kelly, Miles Taylor, Alex Vindman, Kris Goldsmith. They know what it's really about. And I firmly believe that this will be the year, 2026, when Americans en masse begin to see Trump and Flynn and the entire MAGA movement for the terrified bullies they truly are. Here's me and Kris Goldsmith. Kris, welcome to the show. We might actually make some news today because for all of our hypotheticals about the strategies and tactics of the far right in coming after researchers and those who expose disinformation and how the fascist networks work, it's no longer hypothetical, right? They're coming at, well, they have come after you for a long time, but this one is pretty specific. It's from General Mike Flynn himself, and it was dropped on Christmas Day. I mean, that to me is where to start. Like, do these guys have nothing better to do? And let's not ignore Donald Trump's Christmas Day rant. I mean, it is really a sign of how desperately alone and pathetic the leaders of this movement are. Can you give us the background on what's going on and the seriousness of it?
Yeah. So the evening of Christmas, December 25th, I had a friend text me to ask me if I was okay, which I didn't know what they were talking about. And they pointed me to a post on Elon Musk's Twitter where General Flynn name-checked me and was calling me a Marxist and said that he had called Kash Patel, the FBI director, and Susie Wiles, the chief of staff of the White House, and asked them personally to investigate me fully and without mercy. And the reason for this is because a fascist Twitter account tagged him in videos that I have done on your show, where I'm talking about General Flynn and his role in the insurrection. This resulted in countless death threats, lots and lots of Flynn's followers calling me a Jew, calling me a Marxist, saying that they should bring back firing squads, asking for my address and the address of my family members, and basically saying pretty explicitly that if they were to find me, they would kill me. That is what my Christmas was like, because General Flynn, this disgraced former general and convicted felon, who has been painting himself as a Christian, like that is core to his identity. That's how he spent Christmas, stirring up an insane mob.
There's two elements of this strategy when they come after folks like you. We've talked to Miles Taylor about this, who's experienced it personally. We've talked to Alex Vindman, countless others who have crossed the regime and people close to the regime. Step one is the levers of the state and this threat, the call from Mike Flynn to Susie Wiles and Kash Patel to investigate you, quote, without mercy. But step two, and they know it's part of it, is the mob. And it's unleashing those death threats and the doxing and that ultimate pressure point, which is physical violence against enemies of the regime.
Yeah. And this is something that I've been prepared for, though it is always disturbing when it happens. It's never a surprise because I have been actively fighting fascists in a very literal way for half a decade now. It started in 2020 when I infiltrated my first extremist organization, Patriot Front, which is a neo-Nazi organization who wants to make the United States a white ethno-state through mass deportations and murder if that doesn't work, which is genocide. That is the definition of genocide. Since I first saw this problem up close and personal when I infiltrated this organization, I have not been able to look away. And it saddens me. I think General Flynn, this disgraced former general, has been off his rocker for quite some time, but he is explicitly allying himself with Nazis, with swastika flying neo-Nazis, because they find common cause in coming after me because I am not a fascist like they are. The man has fallen and continues to fall. And I welcome any sort of government investigation. This has happened to a lot of friends of mine. Nina Jankowicz has been harassed by Jim Jordan and his weaponization committee, which is so aptly named. Imran Ahmed, who runs the Center for Countering Digital Hate, who is in the United States, lives here, has a family, has a green card. They are trying to deport him because he was highlighting how swastika flying neo-Nazis were proliferating all over Elon Musk's Twitter. So my friends, my colleagues from this industry have been experiencing this for years. And you know what? I am fine with being investigated. I will talk to my contacts at the FBI gladly and hand them all of the data that I have on Flynn and Kash Patel and anyone else, because I don't think that the extremist connections that the current FBI director, Kash Patel, that he has have been well reported.
Hey everyone, it's Ken. Quick break for a shameless pitch for my Substack and Patreon pages. To all of you who have subscribed, thank you. Your support is what makes this show possible. Anytime you see in-person reporting, whether it's trips to Ukraine to show you what is really happening on the ground, or my recent conversations with Congressman Jason Crow and Senator Tammy Duckworth, where we got on-the-record commitments to back hearings into ICE's abuses of power.
People need to know that we're taking names.
All of this only happens with your support. Every dollar that comes in through Substack and Patreon goes back into this show. And with the holidays coming up, you can give gift subscriptions as well. The links are below. Thanks for everything. Your support means the world to me. Back to the show. The paranoia oozes out of Mike Flynn, and you see Mike Flynn suggesting that you may have met whoever this Butler character is at the CIA, which I guess is illustrative on a couple levels. One, deeply paranoid. Mm-hmm. Two, deeply ignorant that a 3-star general wouldn't know who Smedley Butler is. Should be pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, Mike Flynn, before he was the national security advisor, was the director of national intelligence, the DNI, under Obama. The man is not a nobody. He is someone who is well read. And it is difficult for me as someone who has followed him pretty closely. And again, I'm not spying on him. He posts all of this stuff online. I'm just reading what he posts. It's difficult for me to tell if this is all a grift, or if he has had something go wrong in the last decade and a half or so with his brain and with his psychology that has sent him in this direction, because it all seems so absurd. A man who is so well educated, who has been so exposed to the way that the military and the way that the intelligence industry works, which I am not an official part of. I'm a self-taught investigator. That for him to look at me as some sort of threat to him, it seems really silly that he would believe that I'm a threat to him. But again, Mike Flynn painting himself as a victim is part of encouraging this cult to come after me, to physically threaten me, and to potentially murder me. This has historical parallels. The Nazis, the fascists of Mussolini's Italy, all of these fascist regimes rely on conspiracy theories, be it about the Jews or the Roma or anyone else. They have these conspiracy theories that are central to their belief system, and it requires the dehumanization, the otherization of other people, which justifies violence in their minds. General Flynn knows this because he has studied history. He's a well-educated man. He has multiple degrees. He is someone who was in the defense intelligence industry for his entire career. The man knows what insurgencies are fueled by, and religious fervor, which he has created over the years by blending his Christianity with his leadership in his QAnon movement, is exactly that.
I am sure that when threats like General Flynn's are leveled at people like you, their thinking is that the intimidation will work. Because all too often, especially when it's leveled at American institutions, and this is deeply frustrating and disappointing, it does work. When it's leveled against law firms or universities, they cave. They don't want the hassle. They don't want the pressure. But I think one of the things we're learning is that the strength of American democracy only partly resides in the institutions. It really rests in, to quote our framers, in the souls of men, right? Men and women, and in the ability of people like you to push back. When they came after Miles Taylor, his counsel told him, lay low, don't make a fuss. And he did just the opposite. He fought back, and it's working. When they came after Alex Vindman, he wrote a book. When they came after the people you're talking about, they didn't take it. And I think that is the only response in a situation like this. I'm sure General Flynn will be just as surprised that you're pushing back as he is that Smedley Butler is an American hero and not some undercover CIA agent.
Yeah. And I hope that General Flynn spends some time looking into my work, because I think he'll if he may hate it, but I think he'll appreciate it. And the next episode of the On Offense podcast, which you can listen to anywhere that you get your podcasts, or on YouTube at the Valor Media Network, the next episode that I'm going to release is about Smedley Butler and the fascist plot that he helped to foil. And it is an interview with journalist and historian Jonathan M. Katz, who worked for the AP, was stationed in Haiti, and wrote a book about Smedley Butler that anyone who's seen me is familiar with, because I keep it in my background. Smedley Butler traveled around the world at a time when the United States was building kind of a corporate empire and knocking down democratically elected leaders. When he came home and took off the uniform, he came to regret that action. And he's most well known for writing the book, a very brief book, which is a speech called War is a Racket. That's what most Americans probably know him for. But at the time, he was the most decorated Marine Corps Marine in history. He was twice awarded the Medal of Honor. He lied to join the Marine Corps at 16 years old to fight in the Spanish-American War. He and Jonathan Katz followed in Butler's footsteps, basically 100 years later, and wrote about the lasting impacts that this kind of war of empire has on these regions and the imperial boomerang that results from these kinds of wars of empire, of expansion. And this is not just a phenomenon that occurs with veterans, with participants in the war. It's something that happens with our society. Kathleen Belew, who you interviewed extensively for the Against All Enemies documentary, this is the thesis of her book, Bring the War Home, where when we go on these wars of adventure, our culture here at home starts to turn in on itself, turn against its own democracy.
Physically, it becomes more violent.
Right. And that's when you see a rise in militias, militia activity. You see a rise in the cooperation between militias and elected officials. You see the radicalization of policies from the far right. We are experiencing that right now after the longest period of war that America has ever been in, the global war on terror that lasted 20 years between Iraq and Afghanistan.
Well, Chris, I'm glad we're ending with the on offense teaser, because this one's going to be great. We'll put the link to the show in the notes below. The show is doing incredibly well, but everyone should go check it out. As Chris said, anywhere you get your podcasts, or even better, on YouTube on the Valor channel. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. And let me make a very specific ask. Please make sure you're downloading every single episode. Listen to it, watch it on YouTube. This is so important, and rate it everywhere that you see it. If you see it on YouTube, give it a like. If you see it on Spotify, where we're also posting videos, if you listen to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, rate us 5 stars. Share the show with your friends, because that is the only way that we can maintain this pace to continue doing this. My goal is to make Kris Goldsmith not essential for democracy. I want to make myself obsolete, because I want to train Americans how to fight fascism and not need me anymore. But we need to work to get there.
Same. Thanks, Chris. See you soon.
Thanks, brother.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.